Welcome back to another episode of Decentralized Chain. It's Firoz, and in today's episode, we are going to be catching up with the co-founder of Saito, Richard Parris, to get the lowdown on what's been happening over the past month over at Saito. But before we do, if this is the first time you're here and you want to learn more about crypto, whether it's news, insights, or analysis to help you get that edge, start now by hitting the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. Better still, why don't you come on over and join us in the Telegram community? Plenty of crypto enthusiasts, from novices to pro traders. So certainly there's no question too big and no question too small to help you on that crypto journey. And if you want to learn more about Saito, make sure to click on the link above where I initially covered it. And also here is a link to another update with Richard the man himself. Now let's jump straight into the interview and catch up with Richard. Hey Richard, welcome back to the show. Great to have you here. How you doing?
It's great to be here. Thanks. It's kind of hard to believe it's a month since we.
I know, but we're going to keep on. We're going to keep on coming with these updates because it's important and it's a good way to keep the community updated as well, without just Saito bashing it out.
It's a pleasure. It's also better than struggling over it, the wording on a text update or something like that. To get in a good flow of conversation.
Yeah, no, exactly. So let's kick off. I mean, what's the latest? I got to say, obviously with the current market conditions, I think one of the things, that was certainly picking up on, and it's not just Saito, but obviously it's cross market, in terms of how Bitcoin is performing and how it's kind of almost dampening the effects on the rest of the market. Obviously, when you come to look at Saito is also feeling it as well. I mean, what's your views on this, Richard?
I mean, it's interesting for me. This isn't my first rodeo. I mean, I've sort of seen the ups and the downs before. I bought into the 2013 spike. So I've been around a while. And I think a couple of interesting things. I think we might be in a new cycle that we haven't seen before. Might be. We don't know. But we haven't seen this kind of longer, stable position after a downturn in a kind of frothy market. So there could be a brand new normal, particularly given some of the institutional investments that we've seen, MicroStrategy, that kind of thing on the Bitcoin side, which I think might mean, we need to do a bit of adjusting about how we think about boom and bust, et cetera, and how, I think positively a sign of maturity. It's obviously made, it's been hard being a newly launched or newly visible project into that space because people are cautious and more thoughtful perhaps, and they're not keen to get onto the wave. Fear of missing it's not there as much, so that's a kind of slight downturn. On the other hand, a big benefit for us with the kind of last weeks before that precipitous Tuesday, where there was a huge amount of froth and bubble around meme coins and the whole Doge thing going on, which was all fun, maybe, but it was also, that's probably more problematic for a project like us who's trying to present a reasonably complex message into a mature audience around, what we're trying to build, how we're trying to, what we're trying to achieve. And then simple little things like listing, all the listing teams at exchanges, when we were wanting to talk to them, were booked out for weeks or cancelling meetings they had because they were under pressure to list, Hokkaido left-handed Shiba or whatever it was that had come up that week, which obviously presented volume opportunities for them, but noise that we had trouble dealing with.
I mean, I mentioned this actually on the BitBoy Crypto show recently, and meme coins is one of the topics we were discussing on Around the Blockchain, and I certainly feel with, on one hand, one could argue that the meme coins are bringing in people into crypto who may not necessarily have heard of crypto before, and maybe that's a plus, that's a good thing. But then also, a lot of these just don't have any use cases other than watching the number go up, which then does, like you said, it dampens it across the board, because when you do have newly launched projects or projects that have been building for some time, when if I would say to a certain extent, if the memes weren't here, there would be a lot more focus on what the quality projects are within this whole industry as well at the same time.
Absolutely, and you also get you could have much more realistic expectations and measurements. I mean, there was a time, early April, people who weren't doing 100x on their IDO were seen as failing.
Yeah,
which is logically absurd. I mean, no one, IPOs on really hot companies that do things don't do that. And in fact, if you did do that, it would be seen as a mishandling of the IPO process and your previous valuation, et cetera, et cetera. So I think kind of just, smoothing that out of the industry is good. It does mean there's a little bit less kind of excitement and therefore fewer people coming in. But overall, for a project like us, I think it gets those people who have been brought in and the older hands now have more breathing space to actually come and look at what we're trying to say and get to know what we're doing.
That's good. So, I mean, in terms of the actual team, how's your team been progressing overall? New hires, new devs?
Yep. So I think that's a big thing. Just mentioned the IDO. So that was now 2 months ago, and this is our second update post. And so obviously one of the objectives running up to that IDO and the IDO itself was to resource the project to kind of take it to the next level. And part of that is hiring. And a really positive part of that is we've got a full-time Rust developer working on our mainnet implementation of sort of data center ready node software. And we've also hired, which has been particularly difficult given the market and other things, someone really great in the senior marketing role. And that's, I really hope, going to help us as a project connect to people. And, we've concentrated on the outreach part of that title, because to us, it's really about reaching out, building community, sort of getting on top of those sorts of things.
It was one of the things that I really liked about Saito, and I remember when we first spoke a good few months ago in our initial conversations, and it was like I'm not interested in price. This was my take, which is that's not our key focus. Our key focus is build, get the product ready, and then the rest will come as and when it does. And I think clearly you've proved you've been building all the way, and fully committed to the project. And equally, now that you're sort of now focusing on outreach, which is equally important, because without the outreach, to a certain extent, you can build the world's hottest product. But if enough people don't know about it, then it's very difficult to get the message out, which is really good to see, actually. So certainly watch this space to everybody else.
Right. I think that's where we're at. And it's partially like a coming out party, right? Where we've made a bit of a splash with the IDO and the lead up to that. And we're in society now, as they used to say. So it's in many ways not much of a change internally in the project in terms of with same values, same ideas, same dedication to building. But it's put us with a broader audience, and we do need to attend to that. And then, like you say, take advantage of what that gives us too.
Oh, exactly. So in terms of, touching on society, let's talk a bit more about community, right? So, I mean, there's a few things coming up, right? And ambassador programs. Yeah.
I mean, that's been one of the things, the first things that, and it's been really great to see someone who's really capable just get going. So the new head of marketing and outreach role, she's already put in place a China and Global Ambassador program. So that's been recruiting and actually is staffed now. And I've seen a really big uptick in discussion and new people in our Telegram and things, but coming in with a really, interesting set of questions and sort of intent, rather than, sort of, I saw this somewhere. So that's been really great. As well as that, we've had some fun things like meme contests and other kind of, just straight up engagement things. I think that's been really positive as well, to get that sort of stuff happening, and really fills me with a really positive feeling we can marry the thing with that sort of set of values we were talking about before with a strong outreach program. It's sort of, we don't need to be out there, doing promotions in a way we're not comfortable with. There's a really great set of tools available to us now to get the message out to people and to start growing that community.
And also got the gaming tournaments, because actually that was one of the other things that drew me into Saito at the beginning, because when when we initially spoke, like, yeah, go ahead, go and jump on Saito Arcade and go and play the games there. And I think that's such a engaging way to actually connect with the audiences, because they are, they're common games which everyone's aware of and can play as well. So it kind of really creates that sort of community feel as well when you're going in, right?
Yeah, and again, this is like a lot of things we've done. This is a multiple purposes. We really, were focused for a while on the IDO, and then also setting up the kind of heavy-duty Rust implementation. Took us away from the existing network a little bit for a while. So we're wanting to kind of really put that back center stage. Show that to a lot of people who've joined in and may not have noticed or really had time with it, as well as and sneakily, we also need to up our game in terms of how much traffic that's generating, simply because we need to test out the Rust version. It's going to be very, very performant, and so we actually need a lot of load just to test it. So we're also working on making sure we can have some big tournament spikes to really put it through its paces. So that's there's sort of all those things coming together in what we're looking at doing now in these early stages of planning, of course. But that's really great also to remember that we have that longer standing community and see them connecting to newer people.
In terms of the whole connection point, and one of the other areas that I see a lot of people talking about is when next exchange. So you've had what have you had recently? You've had Gate. Gate.io, Dcoin, ZT. We've got more to come in terms of exchange listings.
We do. We're trying to, we're not hell bent on Binance or bust, because we're not. Someone was interviewing me the other day about our experience in the industry for his master's thesis, and he had this question of like, was your project successful? Which to me, it was like, I think we're a while off telling, because we're really trying to change the industry. And he's been speaking to so many people for whom the launch or listings and token prices is a measure of success, which is interesting to sort of see in that context. But we're not hell bent on those things, but we want to get coverage is the main thing. We want people to have a good set of options available to them geographically, fiat versus other ways of getting in, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really what we're concentrating on, and we're talking to a couple of good options. So I think will really round us out and make sure everyone's looked after on that front.
In terms of sort of coverage, partnerships. Well, you've had a recent is there a wallet integration happening with Mixin?
Yeah, so Mixin, Mixin, they sometimes drop to the Chinese pronunciation, although it's, having spoken to the founder, it's Mixin to him, and so I really should learn that. It's great to have wallet integration. I really like what Mixin try and do with the wallet and make it more expansive. I think some of that comes from the, being from the land of WeChat, where, chat first, payments attached is a logic they have. But honestly, it's a pretty sweet standalone wallet. So we're great to have that as a secondary option for people. And I know sometimes people are looking, particularly developing places where people are looking sometimes to have one or two wallets available on phone. They want their own coins, and they might have their brothers or some such. To have a selection of wallets is great as well. And Mission's very well put together, very reliable, and has some really solid options around things like key recovery and stuff like that, which I think are also great to offer to people.
And then, in terms of development-wise, where are we at with development in terms of sort of initial versions, benchmarks? So the Rust project is just coming out of that kind of initial phase where the building blocks are being aligned and the surveying's being done, and building is starting in earnest. So we've got our first very promising benchmarks coming out. They look great. It's always a matter of you see your first benchmarks. It's like your first kid. You're not quite sure what it's like compared to other ones. Like, what should I expect, right? Like, is this great? Or in 3 months will I look at this and think I was deluded, or that was nothing to be excited about. So we'll see where that goes. The main thing is
kind of feeling the rubber hit the road and getting a sense of this is really happening, and being able to put something out that can do that. And also at the same time, the kind of community engagement we've started to get with that project. I think there's people really excited about participating in that kind of project. And so being able to present them with something where they can get stuck in and involved is really exciting as well.
Fantastic. Well, Richard, thank you so much for the update today. I think these monthly sessions are a really good way just to kind of condense and get it out there to people, rather than and obviously people are more than welcome to read articles on mediums and whatnot, but sometimes it's easier to listen as well at the same time. But before we wrap up, Richard, any last words?
No, I think just thanks for the support with this, and I think it's great to, we've been a little bit buzzy on having as much community interaction and stuff as we've had this last month. So great to be part of the community around what you're doing as well. It's really pleasing.
Perfect. Well then, same time next month, Richard.
Chat then.